There is an edible garden revolution happening in neighbourhoods across Auckland. Gardens for Health call this growing neighbourhoods from the ground up. Just covering off what we'll cover in the very short period of 8 minutes that we have this morning. We're going to look at the purpose of the Gardens for Health initiative. We'll look at the benefits and the multiple benefits of community gardening. We'll cover off some of the guidelines that we believe are necessary in the establishment phase. We'll cover off some wonderful pictures of people in action in terms of the models around Auckland. And then we'll look at the end about what success actually looks like. So the purpose for us in Gardens for Health, connected through the Diabetes Project Trust and funded by the Ministry of Health, is one of a strong focus on health. So we want to prevent and ease the burden of diabetes, cardiovascular disease and obesity. These are time bombs for New Zealand and for many countries of the world. Diabetes is a major issue, and in some parts of Auckland it is almost epidemic. We want to encourage an increased level of physical activity to get people moving, get people growing food. We want families to grow food in their own garden settings and also in community settings. We wish to support healthy lifestyle choices as well. An ultimate goal is, I guess, around building community resilience for the future. The benefits are very broad. We think working out in the garden is actually better than working out in the gym. Undeniably, the psychological and the spiritual well-being impact of gardening is actually a key factor in why people actually engage at neighbourhood level in gardening. But probably the most important, and actually Wayne talked about this as well, is about the social impact. And we feel that actually the social implications of gardening are probably the most powerful force that actually bring people together. Of course, it's all about consumption of food, and particularly we want to focus on organic food. It must be healthy, it must be grown naturally, and organics is the best pathway to take. We find because of our diverse population, we have 160 different nationalities or different ethnic groups in Auckland. We work with huge diversity. It's wonderful, it's fun, it's a delight. I couldn't be in a better space in terms of working with that cultural diversity. So there is a cultural approach to gardening, which is, we learn a lot from working with groups such as the Somali Women's Trust and the whole range of other groups. Food security for families is critical. Auckland is becoming one of the most expensive cities in the world. It's a lot of people we work with, they don't have much money, they don't have food for families, they send their children to school without breakfast. We're saying to them, we can train you, we can teach you, we can guide you to grow your own food in various settings. We also see the opportunity for micro-enterprise. So there's little business models that are opportunities within neighbourhood and community garden networks. Also, I'd like to introduce this concept of dynamic fit. It's an environmental term, and it basically equates to balance with Mother Nature. So whatever we do, we believe we need to have a dynamic fit approach to what we do in growing food. I'll cover some of these. I may leave some out, but some of them for you to read. Community garden guidelines. This is what we believe and we support by way of our advisory support are the key sort of factors to get a garden going, not only to get it going but also to sustain that garden. So it must be neighbourhood driven from the ground up. Yes, we like some of the top-down support, but ultimately it has to be driven from a groundswell within a neighbourhood. There must be a clear vision, a purpose and an action plan. These are critical factors. But probably one of the most important one we believe is that there needs to be a coordinator in a part-time paid position. 5 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours a week. We think they're the pivotal point within a community garden. They also need to be supported by a core steering group. So there may be one coordinator, but we believe there needs to be 4 or 5 people around them who actually drive ultimately the community initiative. We suggest to all community gardens that they seek advice before making the first few steps and undertake a feasibility check to see whether this is possible. Because often enough we've actually worked with groups that they have gone through the motions, they've actually set up a garden, but they've actually missed some of the key points and they've actually floundered and they've actually had to be rescued. Forming partnerships, tapping into funding streams and sponsorship are really critical for any of our neighbourhood community gardens. We believe in learning by doing is critical. Yes, you can talk about gardening, but you've actually got to get down there and do it. This is the way that we support in my team of 2 facilitators across Auckland. We believe we're engaged. After I leave here, in fact, I'm going to be working with a mental health provider in South Auckland. I'll have my gumboots on, my overalls on, I'll have a spade, and we'll be doing some pruning and we'll be planting some garlic. Securing land is becoming a big issue, and we sense, of course, with the council policy in some cases wanting to go up and other entities wanting to go out. This is actually a major cause for concern for green space that we believe needs to be allocated for growing food for Aucklanders. We can feed ourselves here in Auckland. We have huge amount of space, tremendous amount of space. We've lost 4 community gardens in the last 6 months because of sale of property or sale of property to build houses. So productive land is being wasted, is being lost. So a major consideration. Community engagement, social enterprise and being resourceful. Gardens don't have to cost a lot of money. People are very resourceful about how they can actually acquire what they need to grow food. Building community resilience for a future we will not see is a factor. We also say that soil profiling and testing of soil is actually a mandatory factor, particularly if the space has been used as a market garden. We don't encourage groups to take on gardens on bowling clubs because they're generally contaminated. Even some of unfortunately, our parks and reserves with the pesticide use over many decades are a cause for concern. So tests are really important. We believe in energy, we believe in mahi, and we got any Tongan people here today? My apologies, because mahi in Tongan means underwear. I can't remember the energy, the version of energy in Tongan. But we believe also that gardening must be fun, because if it isn't fun, why would we bother doing it? Just quickly going to go through some pictures. This is the disability in school models. On the left, we have the spinal unit in Otara, so it's set up for wheelchair patients to garden. On the right-hand side is Tuakau School. I know it's out of Auckland, out of the new Auckland zone. We've got children there. We've planted over 35 fruit trees last July. We work a lot with the Pacific and the faith community. These are Punjabi young ladies who have gardens in Manurewa and Papatoetoe. On the right-hand side is a picture of Tongan Health Society based in Onehunga on council land. Raised beds, which were opened by the Ministry of Health just over a year ago. We have teaching and marae models. Teaching models were actually initiated through the Legacy Council, Manukau City Council in 2008, 2009 and 2010. We also work with a lot of marae organisations where there's a marakai approach to growing food, and that's really encouraging. We love that connection. This is Mr. Zhang. Mr. Zhang is a Chinese senior citizen who knows his gardening. Fabulous. I would say 80% of the plants in his garden were foreign to me as a gardener of many years. These are his melons and cucurbits, and he's very proud of those. The top right-hand garden is a free pick garden at North Shore Hospital for diabetes patients. The bottom one is a cluster garden of Cook Island Church group in Manurewa, where we've got 28 gardens linked together through the church. We increasingly work with the refugee population. At the refugee centre in Mangere, we have 3 small community gardens. We also engage with the labour force that is the Auckland Blues, the Auckland Rugby Development Squad, and the Warriors. Now, they're very keen to come along to do community service work, and in this case on the right we've got a few of the Blues involved with a school project in South Auckland. The only person, by the way, that day that was actually wearing safety boots was Piri Wipu. I won't go through all these. This is what success looks like for Garden for Health at the moment. We actually have 52 food initiatives across Auckland. We probably have around another 10 on the table that we're in the planning phase with our neighbourhood and community groups. That equates to about 1,800 people involved in community gardening. We have a strong emphasis with the Pacific population, with the Maori population, Asian and Indian. We're increasingly being asked to work with more refugee groups once they come out of the refugee centre, youth groups, disability providers and senior citizens. Much of what we do, and our services are all free by the way, because we're funded by the ministry and by district health boards to undertake this service. A lot of our work is advisory. We run workshops, probably 4 or 5 a week. We have a seed bank and distribute seed all around to anybody who wants that. We're actively involved with running working bees. We're building up a huge generation of information around resource documents, and we, like today, involved with presentations. I'll go down to the last one, advocacy and liaison. We have been working with council, a range of council staff and groups over a number of years, particularly around policy and process, and supporting council with developing that policy and process. I think the most important thing we're engaged in is particularly at local board level, with Puke Te Papa, Albert Eden, to name 2. And we're excited about what's actually happening at local board level. That's where the thrust of neighbourhood and community action is actually happening. Nearly there. Just leave you with this final comment from Mr. Fukuoka. He wrote a book, a very inspirational book called The One Straw Revolution, which some of you may have read. We cannot isolate one aspect of life from another. When we change the way we grow our food, we change our food, we change our society, we change our values. This is growing neighbourhoods from the ground up. Thank you.